Hello everyone. And you have already seen the sensational drama Joker, which the audience predicts several Oscars. Yes. Arthur Fleck's story is truly breathtaking.
Yeah.
When you bring me out, can you introduce me as Joker?
But still he is a fictional hero. Alas. In real life, similar characters are also too enough, and sometimes there are worse. Someone begins to engage in atrocities because of childhood trauma, someone because of lack of money, and someone because of the banal desire for fame. Today we will tell you about the 7 most dangerous criminals in history. And how some of them still manage to walk free. Dawood Ibrahim. Some call this guy the godfather of godfathers, and indeed. He would have made any Italian mobster tremble, even the heyday of Cosa Nostra. The FBI has been looking for him since 1993, when his history of crimes in Mumbai was revealed, then almost 26 people died. American agents have been trying hard to get the Pakistani authorities to extradite this attacker. However, these attempts were unsuccessful. According to some intelligence reports, instead, Pakistani officials personally helped Dawood hide abroad. Probably in some Asian country. The criminal path of Ibrahim, who was born in 1955, began in the Indian slums. The boy grew up in a poor family. He left school early and decided to earn his own living. At first he worked as an assistant car mechanic, then as a taxi driver, and soon switched to dirty money. And because, honest hard-earned decent salary, not has ever managed. Not even the fact that his father was a police officer, albeit a lowly constable, stopped Ibrahim. At first it was small fraud, such as substitution of goods in the market and pickpocketing. But soon, Dawood and his friends moved on to more serious matters, and even founded his own company. This company called The Company deals with a wide range of offenses, from trafficking in prohibited substances, to contract killings. And is run by Ibrahim, until now. They started with petty crimes, with car theft, but soon became a real transnational corporation, even opening branches in other countries. By the way, unbelievable but true, Dawood many years worked directly with the Bollywood. It was him who sponsored a huge number of films of the Indian film industry. Despite the close attention of international detective organizations, the activities of the group does not stop even today. In many ways, this is due to the fake documents that Ibrahim received in different countries of the world. Today, a $25 million bounty is being offered on his head. Nevertheless, the criminal continues to walk free. According to some reports, in Australia, Matteo Messina Denaro, the story of the adventures of the Sicilian Mafia today exists only in the movies? As it is not so. This criminal was brought up according to all the rules of the clan of criminals since childhood. After all, he was born in the family of a real mafia. He committed his first crime at the age of 18. Today he is 57, and the perpetrator is credited with killing more than 50 victims. A special weight in the Sicilian gang, he began to gain in the early 90s. When he got rid of his father's main rival, and his woman. Not even the fact that she was 3 months pregnant stopped him. It is assumed that Matteo was more than once involved in larger cases, for example in the organization of crimes in some Italian cities with many victims. In any case, the perpetrator has been wanted for more than 20 years. And in 2002, he was sentenced to life imprisonment. However, this did not prevent him from continuing his ascent to the Mafia Olympus and becoming the new godfather of Cosa Nostra in 2006. By the way, on the way to this rank, Matteo did not spare the guardians of order. He is accused of involvement in the deaths of judge and investigator Giovanni Falcone and his associate, deputy prosecutor of Palermo Paolo Borsellino, who became symbols of the fight against criminal gangs in Italy. For several years, the police managed to catch dozens of accomplices and relatives of Matteo, but the leader is still at large. In addition, even in such circumstances he manages to continue to lead the main criminal organization in Europe. There are even rumors that Matteo had a face transplant surgery and continues to live in Sicily, owning the economy of the entire province. Whether this is true or not, no one knows for sure. John Wayne Gacy. And now back to the Joker. Perhaps the story of this crazy guy pulls even the most sensational depressive drama from DC. By the way, the image of John became the prototype for another famous character, creepy Pennywise, from the novel by Stephen King. For his sophisticated atrocities, the American press gave the nickname to John, Clown Killer. All because this unremarkable fat man, an exemplary citizen and public figure, worked as a clown on children's holidays. And in breaks between work, looked after on the streets of the city the next victim, lured to the house, and then there was a terrible. Thus, the victims of his brutal massacre were a total of 33 young men. What can drive a person to such terrible crimes? That's right, childhood trauma. Practice shows that almost all problems come from there. And serial maniacs turn out to be disliked children. John's father suffered from various addictions, and constantly beat his own wife in fits of unconsciousness. But the worst thing is different. Until John, so not was affairs, that his parents for many years, not have observed, as each father committed over him physical violence. And add bullying from peers, and we get one of the worst criminals of the last century. John had been in prison more than once. It first happened when he was 25. The guy served 18 months and was released early. Soon after his return to freedom, he committed his first crime. And, quite by accident. And more not managed to stop. Only many years later I was able to connect a lot of mysterious disappearances of young men with the personality of Gacy. And in 1980 he was sentenced to death, but the sentence was carried out only. In 1994, due to numerous appeals by the accused, Rodney James Alcala, another serial killer who in 2010 was sentenced to death in the United States, under rubbing shoulders, at all not produced impressions psychologically unbalanced right. Johnny. Moreover, precisely thanks to its charisma, him has ever managed to enter in confidence to their numerous victims. According to various sources, their number is about 130 people. These are young girls and boys. Their former photographer lured his charm into his studio. There he abused them, brutally killed and photographed. However, to catch the offender and manage to prove his guilt after only 30 years. All because the result, for a long time, failed to find enough evidence linking Alcala to the crime. The breakthrough in the case occurred only at the beginning of this century. Thanks to new technologies of DNA examination. Alcala was given a terrible punishment, death by injection, But in 2013 this sentence was changed to life imprisonment due to amendments to the legislation in the territory of the state of New York. Lonnie Franklin Jr. Another clear proof that often evil lurks in the most unremarkable people, postman and garbage collector Franklin Lonnie from California. Neighbors said he was always sociable, and never refused to help. Behind his good-natured smile, however, lay the nature of a serial killer. Between 1985 and 2007, he personally committed the murder of more than 20 victims. They were mostly young girls. A key twist in the case against Lonnie was the testimony of one of his victims named Laura. By a happy coincidence, the girl managed to escape from the car in which the maniac drove her, and later, several times shot. Despite the plentiful evidence of Lonnie's guilt, he never pleaded guilty, accusing the witnesses of lying. Even though he was sentenced to death 3 years ago, the offender still continues to sit on death row in one of the prisons in California, as well as hundreds of especially dangerous criminals. The fact is that in this state, as in the whole country, for many years there have been discussions about the abolition of the death penalty. As a result, this type of punishment has not been cited in California prisons since 2006, despite the fact that such sentences continue to be imposed. Andrew Chikatilo, another brutal maniac, who thanks to his atrocities became known throughout the world. Until his first murder committed in 1977, he led an ordinary life of a Soviet man. He received several higher education, served in the army, married, and had children. However, at some point, something went wrong. Once a man, he said, allegedly accidentally killed a 9-year-old girl. He couldn't stop. By the way, for his first crime, a completely different criminal, Alexander Kravchenko, was mistakenly executed. In the following years, by 1990, Chikatilo had taken the lives of more than 50 people, many of whom were minors. The attacker met his victims on the street and offered to show them something interesting. And later lured to the park and was there for terrible crimes. Finally, after a long investigation, Chikatilo was arrested 1990 on November 20. Due to the fact that he confessed to all his crimes, the court promptly sentenced him to death. Maniac asked for clemency from Russian President Boris Yeltsin. The request was, of course, rejected. On February 14, 1994, Chikatilo was executed.